What are your expectations for this team going into this World Cup?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be there in 2014 in Brazil when this team had an amazing amount of success. And what this group had was character, was chemistry. They were together like no other nation I had seen. I watched a great documentary following that group. Management to players, the communication, everything was absolutely on point. This group has had a very difficult time going from being world champions to where we're at right now with the German Federation. A lot of legends have retired, unfortunately, and maybe you still see one legend still there in Manuel Neuer, 40 years old, still in the group. It's quite amazing to see. I just think that Germany is a nation you can never underestimate when it comes to a World Cup. I understand they've had major disappointment over the last two. Major disappointment. This group doesn't exactly scream immense talent like the previous generation that won the World Cup in 2014 did. But if you look at individuals, there are some superstars in amongst this group. I am slightly concerned defensively, and that's probably why you bring the experienced Manuel Neuer into this group. So I do think that this is going to be a big question. Defensively, can they sort of be solid? Can they be organised? Can they be together? I think that's down to Julian Nagelsmann if he can get that right. Offensively, I'm going to throw it out there. The striker position is up for grabs, but I do think that midfield is up there with the best in world football. I'm going to throw it out there. There's some individuals there that can steal the show and absolutely push Germany into the promised land once again.
Well, this is the German side that was released just today as far as the World Cup squad for this German side. And now to break it all down, bringing our German football correspondent, Rafa Honigstein. Rafa, thanks for coming on with us yet again. Let me get your initial reaction on the squad released by the German national team.
Yeah, not too many surprises. It's a squad that most people expected, about one or two omissions. Said El Mala was a player that a lot of people would have liked to see in there. It's a bit unlucky what happened with Oliver Baumann in goal, being only number 2 for months and months of Nagelsmann and Neuer saying, no, Neuer is not coming back. Suddenly here he is, and he's the number 1, and poor Oliver Baumann is going to be number 2 again. But by and large, it's really, I don't want to say the team picks itself, but we don't have too many options, obvious big players that are missing out. We're not England, we're not France, where, you could have had easily 50 great players. Germany a little bit thinner on the ground, and that's one of the reasons why we're not seen as big favorites. And of course, if you then include our recent history at the World Cup with 2 group stage exits, very few people have us down as favorites. Nagelsmann said straight after the Euros he's going to the World Cup to win. He's backtracked a little bit, like he's backtracked on quite a few things. But I think we have a decent squad, not a brilliant one.
All right, let's get into it. I mean, you just mentioned there, Julian Nagelsmann taking a lot of heat from the German media. There have been a few surprises. I think the Manuel Neuer selection and the Baumann situation was a big surprise for me. So was there any surprise factor going into this group selection of, what you were expecting to happen and obviously what they can do, this group obviously going into a World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, 1 or 2 surprises. I think Maxi Bayer was a bit of a surprise. I think he got lucky in the sense that his uptick in form coincided with a nomination. I think a few months ago he would have had very little chance of making the squad. Kai Havertz, of course, being there is not a surprise, but we're really lucky that he recovered just in time. I guess of all the sort of novice players, Lennart Karl is the obvious one, but he has been so good for Bayern that I think it was difficult for Nagelsmann to leave him out. One player I would really like to see in the squad is Tom Bischoff. He is also a novice, a rookie at this level, but he's shown enough at Bayern that he is a very versatile addition. He can play midfield, he can play left back, which I think would have been really useful because with the exception of David Raum, we don't have really that many options. And if you consider the fact that Joshua Kimmich is probably going to play as right back, that puts a lot of strain on the back 4 because it's not really blessed with natural world-class fullbacks. And I think that's probably where our weakest spot is.
Well, that kind of gets into what I was going to ask you next. Which is the area of concern for you in this German squad? Is it that back line? Is it the number 9 position, the striker position? What is it for you?
I have less problem with the striker position. Yes, we don't have an orthodox number 9. Don't have Kylian Mbappe up there either. But I think the combination of Havertz, Wirtz, and Musiala has already shown at the Euros that playing in a sort of different way with the fluidity and lots of interchanging, Germany will score goals. And I think if you then add Lennart Karl to the mix, and you have Leroy Sané, who hopefully will show up and is going to have a good tournament and find the consistency at least over that time of the tournament that has been missing in his game over the last couple of years. If you look at the whole time, I think Germany will not struggle for goals. Where I see more problems is the back four. I see Jonathan Tah as a very good defender, Schlotterbeck, very good defender. Are they sort of world-class level like Mats Hummels and Jerome Boateng? Probably not. And the fullbacks we talked about. I don't like to see Joshua Kimmich there. I understand that with the ball, he becomes another midfielder and he's very influential. But you don't want to see him up against a Vinicius Jr. in a one-to-one, or up against Olise in a one-to-one, or whoever's going to play on the left for France. They have so many options. So there, I think Germany are just not very well positioned. Now, in the past, when they had a problem, and of course that happened in 2014, the beginning of the World Cup, they played with 4 centre-backs and just sort of got into the tournament being quite pragmatic, if you will. And that might well be the start again in a sort of amenable group that they should have no problem with. But I think to go really deep, I just don't see quite enough quality in the back four, unfortunately.
They have an immense amount of talent in that midfield, especially the number 10 position. Jamal Musiala, Florian Wirtz, albeit Musiala with injury and Florian Wirtz out of form and inconsistency. You've mentioned his name a couple of times. There's a young Lennart Karl that got in there. I'm so happy to see his name there because, as you pointed out, he just flew out the traps and was immense. Everyone in the world now knows his name. He's in the national team squad. What role can he play, understanding that there is a Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala right there in that type of a position where he could potentially play? Is there a possibility we could see him at some point be a match winner, be the name that we're actually talking about at the end of this world? It's not a Wirtz, it's not a Musiala, we're talking about Lennart Karl.
I think could very well happen. And I think the reason for that is, as you alluded to, both Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz are not quite at the same level that they were 2 years ago. Musiala, because of his injury, is still fighting his way back to full fitness and full confidence in his own body. And Florian Wirtz, after a difficult season, not quite firing. I think that Lennart Karl is going to get plenty of game time. You know, at the World Cup, things change. Whereas if it's club football and you have an off night as a Florian Wirtz or Jamal Musiala, you're still going to be in a starting lineup 3 days later. In the World Cup, where everything comes down on such a small amount of games, if you have 45 bad minutes, somebody else will take your place in the next game. And Lennart Karl is perfectly positioned to both be an impact sub, but also if there's any loss of form or perhaps a lack of real form from either Musiala or Florian Wirtz, he'd be the first name on the team sheet to come in. Unless, of course, Leroy Sané is also with a starting position. I think it's very uncertain if he's going to be able to do enough to get that starting position. If he has, then things change again a little bit. But I am sure that Lennart Karl is going to have a big impact, certainly in the group stage where, let's face it, against Ivory Coast, Ecuador, and Curacao. Famous last words, but I'm confident Germany will score goals.
Fair point. Oh, you always don't want to get in that jinx, right? You don't want to
You're
get
forgetting
that
the
jinx
Dutchman, Dick Advocaat at Curacao. He's going to listen to this and be a little angry, Rafa.
Rafa, historically, for Germany, the only time you call a success in a World Cup is winning a World Cup, because that's the standard that they've met. Bit different this time. What would you call success for Germany in this World Cup?
I think success is going to be somewhere between quarterfinal and semi-final. Anything before that is a disappointment. Anything after that is going to be a decent World Cup. Germany got knocked out in the quarterfinals against Spain in the Euros. It was seen as an okay result because it was Spain. They went on to win. It was an edgy game. Germany got a little bit unlucky with the handball situation and so on. So it was a decent enough finish. If they do it again, I don't think it's quite enough. I think they probably have to get into the semi-final for people to say really good tournament. If it's just another quarter-final, people say, okay, we're sort of on a consistent path. We have, not embarrassed ourselves the way we did in the last two tournaments, but it's not going to be creating people dancing in the street and so on. I mean, we used to have this saying in Germany that a bad Germany team gets to the final, a good one wins it. I think a bad Germany team hasn't got to the final for a while. I would settle for that one.